Welcome to Bed and Bread, where we turn your extra bed into some extra bread for you. And we're here today. I'm here with Kevin, my son, Kevin Korge, powered by Sofla Vacations. We're so happy to be here. And we've got a great program for you today. We're going to sort of giving you Airbnb Host 101. Being an Airbnb host, what are the things that you really have to do? You know, we're living in an economy today. And by the way, I got the jacket on. It's the first cool day of the winter. Halloween, Kevin.
Thank God.
Halloween. And by the way, this is the start of my Halloween costume.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And anyone in the comments section, what do you think the end result of this Halloween costume is going to be? What am I going to be? But this is the first, I could say, accoutrement to my Halloween costume tonight. Today, Halloween, the 31st, first cool day of the winter here in South Florida. Kevin, what do you think?
Guessing your outfit? Is it the beginning of Silvio from The Sopranos?
That's good. Or maybe Miami Steve Van Zandt from the Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Now that there's a movie coming out with Bruce, Tommy thinks I am a Romanian. Was it Romanian, Tommy? Romanian gypsy. He thinks it's the start of that. You tell us what you think it is in the comment section. But today we're talking Airbnb host. And, you know, there's a lot of people that need extra income right now. The economy is not great. There's maybe you have that extra room in your house, or you have a additional dwelling unit on your property somewhere that you could turn into a unique and great rental and bring in cash to help you with those expenses that just keep going up no matter where you go, to the gas station, the grocery store, wherever you go. So today we're going to talk a little bit about being an Airbnb and a host, and giving you sort of the 101 lesson, if you will, on what's entailed with that. So, Kevin, just talk about kind of the 4 areas that we're going to focus in on today.
Yeah, I would say it's about 4 or 5 areas. And one of them would be, obviously the legal aspect of hosting an Airbnb. You can't just, set up shop and just start running short-term rentals.
You got to make sure you're doing it legally.
Right. Yeah. And that you're in an area that allows short-term rentals.
And that certainly is the first step.
Yeah, for sure. Common mistakes to avoid, setting up your space as well, getting it ready, not just to host people, but also you got to photograph it. You got to make it look nice for when you're going to list it.
And you want it to look realistic, so the expectations are met when the guest gets there.
Right. Exactly. Where to market it, because certain, places or certain platforms might fit you better than others.
Correct.
And the other one is guest experience and reviews, which is going to help you really get a lot of bookings once that first guest is gone. Yeah,
because we know, and we say a lot at Sofla Vacations with the short-term rentals that we have. We say often it's about the photos, it's about the pricing and being competitive, and then of course it's about the reviews. Those are the things that get it, whether that platform's Airbnb, VRBO, or numerous other places, which we'll talk about some of those today on this program. So let's start with the legal foundation.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing you got to do is what? Go online, look at the city you live in, right?
Yeah. You would want to just Google short-term rental laws in my location is probably the easiest way of getting it. A lot of people use ChatGPT too, but you want to have your location enabled so it's going to pull the most accurate data from, that search engine. And you would just go to your public domain, whether it's local office. Like for us, it's South Miami,
right? So you're looking at the local government entity that governs where that room or ADU is located. So the city, the county, if it's in an unincorporated, like here in Miami-Dade, we have various municipalities, and of course there's areas that are unincorporated. So for some of our properties, we had to go first to the county website in the unincorporated areas and make sure we register and do it all legally, right? And that's important. The other side is the HOAs, right?
Yes. Definitely.
So you got to look at the rules. If you have a property that's in an HOA or some sort of a a condo association, then you got to make sure it's legally done, because you don't want to do it illegally. You're going to get busted and you're going to put in a lot of work and then get closed down. It's not worth it, wouldn't
Yeah.
you
No,
say?
I definitely agree. It's not worth it. It's boring and it sucks, but it is the necessary step in starting your Airbnb is making sure that, you're zoned for it. You have the proper business licenses. You have state and local tax requirements put to the standard that's there.
Yeah.
Cause like for us, for example, I think us is what, 7% state tax
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
6% tourist tax.
correct. So, depending on where you're located, and giving another example, us here in Miami, in unincorporated Miami Dade County, you're required to pay a 7% state of Florida sales tax and a 6% Miami Dade County, what they call a bed tax or tourist tax. And that tax has to be paid by the 18th of each month. And you have to go online, set up accounts,
Right.
and make sure that you're paying it.
Right.
Of course, bear in mind some of the platforms that you might be advertising on might pay that tax on your behalf. So you got to research that. Airbnb in Miami-Dade County does, but they have deals set up differently in different parts of the United States in terms of how they pay the tax to that specific governing body, whether it's a state or a county or a municipality, whatever the case may be. But Kevin, you're right. You got to get the license. Make sure you go through those steps and get the license properly so you don't deal with any other problems in the future. It's not worth doing all the work that comes after this and then get shut down.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it. So the next step, Kevin, let's talk about that, and that's setting up the space for success.
Right. Yeah. So you really want to make sure that the design is not just clean and looks nice, but you want it to be comfortable too. Because
Right.
people are going to come here and most likely they're vacationing at your place if they're staying short term or they're in a transitional period. And you just want the space to be nice and clean. I think that's the biggest important factor is making sure your space is clean.
Yeah, I think cleanliness is rule number one. We all agree.
Yeah.
I mean, people have an expectation that they're going to a hotel, even though that room in your home or that is ADU at your property is not a hotel. Their expectation is they're coming to a hotel. That type of cleanliness. So, right, really important. The other thing, which I want to point out, what you're saying is, don't clutter your space,
Yeah.
please. There's nothing worse. I know we've garnered owner representation on down in the Keys in Isla Mirada specifically, and some of the owners give us the property and they have fishing poles lying around and all sorts of junk and their personal belongings and papers and photographs.
Yeah.
Get it out of there. It shouldn't be there. Again, do you see that in a hotel when you go to a hotel room? No, you don't. So get rid of the clutter. That's the
Yeah.
other thing I
It
would say.
it really helps, and it's fine if you have, like, a closet that's locked for, personal belongings or cleaning supplies that you're gonna use after they stay, but you really don't want all your amenities taken up just by clutter, because to your point, we had, an owner at EBC who had a lot of personal belongings in this loft, which could have been converted into another bed space, and it
Increase the capacity,
yes.
increase the
The
average daily
capability
rate.
of
Right.
someone booking.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Showing up in more searches, that's what it
yeah,
comes down to. Safety's another thing you got to set
yeah,
up for your rental.
yeah,
And certainly there's a lot of things that come with that. It's making sure there's smoke detectors if you have a kitchen or
for
kitchenette
sure.
or some sort of
Yeah.
really, I would put a smoke detector in no matter whether you had a kitchen or not.
Yeah, if it's just a room, like, I understand, but it really you do want smoke detectors for any type of situation, like, what if there's an electrical fire, God forbid? But you wanna make sure that you have a safety net for not just your property, but for your guests too.
Yes, it's your
Of
responsibility.
course.
What about door locks? What do you think are the best door locks for someone to have?
If you're renting your place and you might not be there all the time because it might not be like right behind your house or even in your house. Maybe you're renting out a condo or an apartment or a home.
Investment property
Yeah,
somewhere.
somewhere else. It's hard to have someone go there and, check someone in and provide a key. And, sometimes people check in very late at night or
Yeah,
they have a
it's
delay in their flight.
yes.
So I think the best lock you can possibly use is a smart lock
Right.
because you can control not just the ability to let someone in and out, but you can give them that code prior to their arrival. So no matter what time they come in, they'll be able to get into the
Yeah, and if
rental.
you have any questions regarding what smart locks we use or ones we recommend, just plug in the comments section, ask us, and we'll get right back to you with your email address. But smart locks definitely are something that people should look into, and certainly at a bare minimum, just non-smart but keypad locks,
Right.
so that you can reset them after every rental or every few rentals. You could set them with a number that the guests will know.
Yeah.
The one thing I recommend not doing is don't use a hard key. People lose keys, they take it with them by mistake. You're just creating more work for yourself. It's a little more of an investment
Right.
for the type of smart lock, as you say, is more, or even a keypad's a little bit more than a standard lock, but it's certainly the way to go.
Right. Yeah. No, I fully agree.
Yeah, I think so. The other thing, you know, not bad to have a fire extinguisher inside the property as
For sure.
well.
First aid kit might be nice.
You never know.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your setting up the property, the amenities to set. What are
Right.
some of the musts you believe for amenities for someone traveling that they got to have?
So the basics, like everyone thinks of like pools and balconies when it comes to amenities, but you got to start smaller than that. Like toiletries are a big one. Have providing towels. High speed internet is a huge one right now, especially since there's a lot of people that work remotely and whatnot. So I would say high speed internet, smart TVs, nice. A lot of them come with live channels, so you don't have to buy cable. But it allows guests who have streaming services to just sign into Netflix or HBO Max and watch whatever they want. I feel like those are some of the most basic
Yeah,
amenities.
and you bring up Wi-Fi. I mean, it is so important to have fast, reliable Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you want that good
People are
internet.
working remotely all the time, even when they're on vacation. Unfortunately, in the world we live in today, you
Yeah,
cannot get unconnected, and
yeah,
people need to be able to connect. That Wi-Fi is important if you don't want to get a call about how the Wi-Fi is not working, and you don't want that call because you really can't in many cases remedy it yourself.
right.
Then make sure you have reliable, well thought out a Wi-Fi plan for your guests. The other thing I want to bring up is, and we talk about it at Sofla Vacations all the time, rule number 1: have a comfortable bed on your property.
Yeah,
I mean, think about it. If someone's vacationing and it's travel or even business, in all likelihood, they're not going to be there for a majority of the day, but they will be there one time of the day, I can assure you. And that's when they do this.
yeah,
When they go to sleep, they will be there. And a majority of their time in your room or ADU or condo, that the investment condo that you're renting out, a majority of that time, they are sleeping and in bed, in that bed. So make sure comfortable bed.
right. Yeah,
Concur?
yeah, I completely concur. And what would also be nice to have, like, if you want something that's a little in between, because some people like a firm mattress. You don't want a rock hard mattress though.
Right.
And some people like a soft bed, but they don't want to sink into it like their Uncle Fester, right?
Yes.
So, you get a nice, decently firm bed, but another thing that you can have as a safety measure is a topper, like a comforter, like a topper to
Very
use.
important.
Yeah, to make it extra comfortable in case someone's like, it's a little too hard for me.
And the mattress cover, super important. You don't want people, some people, believe it or not, will pick it up and see how stained your mattress is. That people are finicky sometimes.
Yeah.
So make sure you have a mattress cover in case a child's at your property and spills something. God forbid someone has a wee in the bed,
Right.
it's
Well,
covered.
well, it's also depending on your area too. Like for us in South Miami, we're around a lot of
Yes,
hospitals and a lot of
it's true.
you know, what's it called when you do
Cosmetic surgery
cosmetic
place,
surgeries,
right,
right?
and all sorts of stuff like that.
And sometimes we have guests post-op and they stain the sheets because of that.
Right.
So it is good to have that cover over the mattress in case that comes through. You don't want your mattress getting stained too. You already got your sheet stained.
Yeah, I mean, so we bring up comfortable mattress, but you just brought up a great word, linens.
Right.
And so the other side of it is don't cheap out on the linens. Again, people stay in there a majority of the time that they're in your unit, they are going to be staying in a bed. They're going to be lying down. They're going to be horizontal a majority of the hours. Make sure that you put good quality linens in there. It's worth the investment in the front end. And if guests ruin them or stain them, you can take a deposit on the front end to cover yourself in the event that that happens. As Kevin says,
Right.
if whether it's a someone coming on a medical visit or something like that, you want to be covered. So you could do it that way, but make sure comfortable, great quality linens and comfortable pillows. You put someone in bed and they're comfortable, trust me, they will be happy at the end of the stay.
Yeah, another little thing. A lot of people really like or they'll only sleep on white sheets when it comes to hotels and vacation rentals
Yes,
because it's a very visibly easy way of seeing if they're dirty or clean.
right. Right.
So, if you're starting up your own thing, I think, the blanket should be fine, but when it comes to the actual sheets, I would recommend white.
Yeah, white is it's a great point, Kev. Yeah, people can open that sheet and would know whether it's clean or not right away,
Yeah.
and there's a sense of comfort with
Yeah,
that.
there's a peace of
Certainly.
mind for a lot of guests.
Right. Plus, you can have backups, so whatever cleaning crew you have can use the backup sheets and launder, and don't have to launder, wait, and put the same sheets back on the bed. So you maybe get three sets of that same sheet. They launder. There's an extra sheet, and so forth. So yeah, that's an awesome point. Let's turn to the next subject, and
Okay.
that's marketing and some of the platforms.
Right.
And before we start, I want you to speak to the importance of photographs, the importance of that. There's nothing worse in my mind than, and it turns me off immediately when I'm shopping for myself. And I do shop for vacation rentals when I vacation. We have our properties in Miami-Dade, Broward County, and the Florida Keys. So I don't vacation here. I go away and I do, for example, recently to North Carolina, rented a house on VRBO. And
Beautiful.
and yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's important. And I picked that house because of the photographs. There's nothing worse than someone taking their cell phone and going, well, I'm going to get great photos, unlit, not well done, not well thought out, not well positioned photos. It does not resonate. And it's, as we said, one of the three most important things when doing a listing. One is the photo. Speak about the photos.
So, three key points about the photos for me that everyone should make sure that they're hitting on. Um, I'll start out with the cosmetic form of it, which is you want to put your place on a pedestal. You want it to be the most nicest version of your place
Right.
when you take those photos. Um, the second point kind of goes against the first one in a way, but it's the transparency, which is you don't want to mislead people with your photos. You don't want to make it seem like I have this private backyard when in reality it's open with no gate and maybe someone was bringing a dog that they thought was going to be inside the place and wouldn't get out. You don't want to mislead people when it comes to your photos. You want it to be as accurate to your place as possible, but you want to take nice, high quality photos. You want to have nice lighting. You want to take it on a nice camera and not just, your phone. A lot of phones are getting better with their cameras, but there's levels to that.
And in almost any town, you could find someone for under a couple $100 to come in and take professional photos.
Yeah.
There's people that do it for real estate agents in every city across America. You just Google it online and find someone, try to get a fair rate. It should be in the $150 to
Mhm.
$200 rate. If it's a small property, a one bedroom or a studio, something like that. And it makes a huge, huge difference.
Huge difference. And the last point from me would be the photos are up to date.
Right.
Because homes change, apartments change, rooms change, and sometimes it's to your benefit and sometimes it's to your detriment. Like for example, when you booked that place on VRBO that we went to in North Carolina, they had a photo of a hot tub that was decommissioned for months,
Yes, yes. And we
and
weren't happy about it.
yeah, we weren't too happy
I
about
mean,
it.
it honestly, it was the only reason I didn't give them a great review.
Yeah,
I didn't write a review at all. And the reason I didn't was because they had things that were not accurate in that listing, most
right.
notably. And we went when it was cool at night. We would have used it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was one of the amenities we looked at and thought, "Oh, this is a nice thing to
It's a
have
nice amenity.
for our vacation." And when you do stuff like that and guests give you the pushback, sometimes they'll go to VRBO or Airbnb and be like, "Hey, I booked this place under the expectation it had this because it's listed in the photos, and I'm not getting that now. I want some compensation." They're going to try to take money from you from your host payout because of that.
Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah.
Let's talk. You mentioned VRBO. Let's talk a little bit about some of the platforms, the people that are starting up their business, Airbnb business
Yeah.
here in Airbnb 101, powered by Sofla Vacations. We talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the platforms.
Yeah.
List some of the ones that you think are the better ones for someone that has that type of offering to a traveler. What are some of the better platforms you feel?
Well, I would say like the main 5 are Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, Expedia, and the 5th one's kinda a little up, but I would say Agoda because, travel from Asia is growing bigger and bigger.
Yeah, especially depending on what part of the United States you're in. If you're on the west coast of the United States, yeah, Agoda's getting booked. Agoda, which is linked to Priceline here in the states.
Right.
Um,
So it's a 2 for 1 technically.
It is, although I think Priceline only takes the hotels, as I recall,
Mm,
not the single standing vacation rental properties.
yeah,
So
I think
you
you're
might not end up on Priceline, but the Agoda Traveler you bring, it's a good point,
yeah.
is mostly from Asia and does bring a steady stream. Is very, very powerful platform
Yeah.
in that part of the world.
Yeah, especially for international guests. Like,
Yes,
so for us, example, we're in Miami, which has become an international capital in the United States. So it makes sense that we're on Agoda for most of these platforms because there's people from all over the world coming here.
right,
So it makes sense for us. Your market obviously is something you want to consider. The platforms also have specific fits. Like you mentioned, Priceline only does hotels.
right.
Airbnb obviously is great for homes.
And
I
and in the United States, really great.
Yeah, for sure. I would actually recommend Airbnb as your starting point because it is, in my opinion, the most user friendly of all the OTAs. And you can also host a wide range of different types of property there. When it comes to Expedia, I would say they like apartments, hotels, and condos more than
Well, and
homes.
and Expedia does own VRBO, so often when you set up a listing on VRBO, if in that area Expedia does not have enough properties or for the demand that they're seeing,
Yeah,
then they'll move your listing over to Expedia
to
on
increase that
VRBO to
inventory. Yeah,
increase the inventory.
yeah,
So you get, by being on VRBO, in many cases you get on Expedia. Expedia is really more of a hotel type traveler.
yeah,
We
and
don't
apartments.
see a lot of our larger units renting as much on Expedia. We see a lot of our rooms in like and suites and hotels and inns that we manage do well on Expedia.
Yeah,
But yeah, the other thing is, and I know TripAdvisor's kind of tricky, but
yeah.
TripAdvisor's as well probably an area that people should look at.
Yeah, TripAdvisor, you can create a profile for your space. I believe last year if I'm not mistaken, TripAdvisor actually took off vacation rentals. They didn't want people creating these vacation rental listings on their platform. They found it hard to manage. So what they do now is they have those vacation rentals imported from other websites, kind of like how you mentioned with Expedia and Verbo.
Right.
Well, Verbo, when you have an API connection, which I'm sure we'll talk about soon with like CRMs and
Yeah.
whatnot,
In
when
another show. Yes.
yeah, when you have VRBO connected, it takes it to TripAdvisor
Right.
when you have an API connection.
So
So
that's something to think about, and we'll talk in another episode various CRMs that you might want to consider. But again, if you're opening up your Airbnb business, you can really market on all these platforms Kevin
right,
mentions, like Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com,
Google
uh,
Vacation Rentals
Google Vacation Rentals.
is a
You
huge
can
one.
interconnect the calendars on those various dashboards, platform dashboards, so that when a booking happens on one platform, let's say Airbnb, it will block out the calendars on the other platforms. And it's not really that difficult to do. It's a simple iCal link that you go into those other platforms and put that link to the, let's call it the master calendar.
Yeah, it's very easy, but very important.
Very important.
Because you connect it on the calendar of your listing, but you want to make sure you do that iCal connection you mentioned, because the last thing you want is a double booking, which is when you have two people that book the same dates or overlapping dates at the same time. Because then you're in a very precarious situation where you may have to cancel one of those guests and
And you may
take
be
a penalty.
you may be penalized by
Yeah.
that booking source. So it's important you connect the calendars from a Expedia or Booking.com to a VRBO or an Airbnb, whatever those platforms. But don't limit it to one platform. You need reach.
Yeah.
You need more visibility. The more platforms you're on, the more visibility you're going to get. There's other ones here in Florida, like FloridaRentals.com is a good example. That's a platform, or Furnish Finders, I know, is very big with 30-day rentals and longer. Traveling nurses use that quite often.
Yeah.
Furnish Finders. So there's other platforms. Expand that reach. The more reach you have, the more people that see your listing and your space, and the more likely you are to get it booked. The other side to now move to another topic.
Right.
It's the pricing. We
Yeah.
talked about the photos. Now we're going to talk a little bit about number 2, which is the pricing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, no, very important. You want to be competitive.
You have to be competitive. And what we do with our properties is we look at a dynamic pricing tool. We outsource to because of the amount of units we have.
Right.
For you, doing one unit at an ADU or a room in your house, as we said before, you can very easily do that with dynamic pricing right on that platform. Now, is it the best? I'm not always sold on like the dynamic pricing offered on an Airbnb, for example.
Right.
But it is a dynamic pricing tool, because you got to be very cognizant of your pricing. If you are way over scale, you're not going to get bookings. If you're way under scale, you're going to be leaving money on the table, and you don't want to do that.
No, you definitely don't want to do that. For someone who's, operating one property or a room or something like that, where it's not really, worth putting in money for a dynamic pricing software, kind of like how
Yes.
Sofla has.
Yes.
But, when you have that individual property, the easiest thing you can do is, if you list it on Airbnb, let's say you go on Airbnb, you search in your area, and you look at all the listings and what they're pricing at. And the other thing you want to take into consideration is the type of listings you're comparing yourself to.
Yes.
Because
important, that competitive set
Right.
is very important.
Right, because, I'm not going to obviously price match someone on a 1-bedroom apartment the same as I would on my 3-bedroom house.
Right. Right.
So the accommodations matter, the amenities.
Or a place that's on the water,
right.
that's got a dock for a boat, compared to a comparable sized house that's inland that doesn't have that type of an amenity.
Yeah,
so
especially down in the Florida Keys.
Yeah, so you got to really look at what the comparables are and make sure. And you're right. Price shop, go on Airbnb like a shopper and look at the comparable ones to
Right.
you. Put all, you can filter. Okay, it's my investment property on a canal in Naples, Florida. I'm going to look for other similar size houses with similar size type amenities. It has a swimming pool, it doesn't. You can filter all that in so you can start comparing prices and set a good baseline for yourself. That's super super important. And then the other thing, adjust for seasonality. I don't know about where you live, but here in South Florida, winter comes around and there's heavy demand. Weekends are more demand than week front of weeks. So you should fluctuate your price. Don't just put one price all year round. There's higher demand in certain times of the year. Know what those are. Here in Miami, we have an event called Art Basel coming in 30 days, 35 days. It's huge. It
Yeah.
creates immense strain on hotel inventory here. We have the college football championship coming in January, and we have the World Cup, and those are just the new events. Forget about all the other events that we have, like Ultra, but we got the World Cup coming in the summer. So be cognizant of what these events are and price accordingly. There's going to be higher demand. That's how you increase your revenue and your return on your investment.
Yeah, another thing that's nice to do too is increasing your possibility of getting booking by targeting different types of guests. Like for example, on Airbnb, what we like to do is we like to offer a little discount for a weekly stay and a discount for a monthly stay
Right.
because we understand that the short term rental pricing we set up isn't going to match what this person is now asking because they're guaranteeing I'm going to have your place for a month.
Right.
You won't have to book anyone else.
Yes, and again, it's comparing what the other people in your comp set
Right.
are doing as on a weekly and monthly. What type of discounts are they doing on weekly and monthly rentals? And that's a great point, Kevin. You can create these sort of discounts to help you stand out in the crowd on these sites.
Yeah, especially like Airbnb, for example. Airbnb kind of refreshes your listing every time you change the pricing. So it's going to kind of jump back to the top a bit when you change your pricing. Whereas if you leave your pricing the same exact way it is for the entire year, even if you factor in those high season dates and the events and whatnot, you're going to be way down here because there's no activity. There's nothing going on with your
Right.
listing.
Right.
So, like a last minute discount is nice to do. Maybe you just adjust the next month if you're not booked very much. You want to adjust it like a couple percent. I would recommend doing that. It's going to refresh your listing. Another thing, too, titles. Like titles also refresh your listing as
Yes.
well.
Changing the photographs.
Right. Even
That
the orientation of
should
the photographs.
right. Right.
You don't even have to like change the photos like
Right.
that.
One other thing, just a couple things backtracking a little bit. Remember, with the platform, when people come in and you start renting your property, make sure you get their contact information, get their at a bare minimum their direct email address. You want to get the platforms out of your business if you can. And the way to do that is to get the person's information because they may want to come back and stay in that area again in the future. And it's good that you're in contact with them so you can send little offers to them. You can get their contact information and try to take them off the platform. The other thing to increase your revenue and up your ROI is make the property unique. When we talked about setting up the property, we sort of left that out.
Yeah.
Do little things. Look at our studio. We put unique things for Halloween here. We own an inn here in South Miami. We decorated for Halloween. It stands out. People it gets attention. We noticed last year when we did it for the first time, we started to see increase in bookings with locals. People when they had friends and family coming to town. Why? Because they saw our Halloween thing and it became top of mind in their community. So make the space unique any way you can with special art on the walls, nothing expensive, just something eye catching that makes it unique. If you have an area outside to create a nice sitting area with a little, campfire or
Right, yeah, like a
fire
fire pit,
pit
yeah,
or something like that. Those unique things really will bolster your price and make you stand out.
for sure.
The last area is the guest experience, and let's talk about that because it comes down to what the third thing that we need, which is reviews.
Yeah.
So talk about communication, Kevin, with the guest. How should that go?
Well, on Airbnb, you get to do pre-filled messages. A lot of these OTAs get to do that.
Right.
One we have set up for Sofla vacations is that we have a message that goes out as soon as someone books, as soon as a reservation's confirmed. It's saying, "Hello, thank you so much for booking with us. We're excited to host you. Please send back your direct contact information so we can contact you regarding your reservation in case there's an emergency. And feel free to message us back if you have any questions." You know,
Simple message.
it's a simple message, but it's super effective.
And the guests always respond, pretty much always respond with their contact information, correct?
Yeah, you most of the time it's almost immediate
Yes.
because they had just made the booking and we set up that message to go out right after they finish booking. They're still on that application or on that web page.
Gotcha.
So it's going to pop up
And
immediately.
what gets me with that message, and I know you're a big advocate of the automated messages.
Mhm.
You could right when they check in, you could send a message welcoming them. There's some triggers to the messages. I know on Airbnb, it's when they book, it's when they check in, and when they check out. I believe those are
Right.
the three triggers.
Yes.
But so you can craft messages around that trigger when they're checking out. Thanks so much for being with us. Think about us again when you come back to your town or whatever. But what you're really saying is fast communication
Yes.
and friendly communication.
Yes, for sure. You want to be hospitable.
Right.
That's the
It's
industry.
kind of the hospitality business.
Yeah, you might say so.
Right,
But
right.
but yeah, you want to be friendly and you do want to be fast cuz like the other thing too is sometimes someone's unsure if they want to book immediately. So our confirmation message won't go out. They'll message us directly saying, "Hi, I'm interested in your place. I had a couple questions, about X, Y, and Z."
Yeah.
You
So
want to respond to that fairly
yeah,
fast.
so that means you got to be on top of the thing. Put
Yeah.
the app on your phone for VRBO. Put your app
Yeah.
on your phone for Airbnb. Wherever you are, that message will come up and you could quickly answer.
Yes.
You can use your speaker and just answer like that. So it's simple and it's really important that you're try to be as fast as you can and as friendly as you can be because as Kevin says, it is the hospitality business and that's what guests are expecting.
Yeah,
When they get there,
yeah, I was
there's
going to say
certain
the fast and friendliness is what's going to lead to that great review you're looking
right,
for.
and it's going to lead to that. Once they get there, maybe the little extra touches, the
Right.
welcome touches.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit.
So it's nice to have like a little welcome sheet come out. Property info is great to have as well.
Yeah, let
So-
them know what the Wi-Fi passcode is.
Right.
Make it visible so they don't have to, search around a lot for it. Usually a guidebook
Yeah.
is pretty good with that. And you can put suggestions on restaurants and where the grocery store is close by or things of that nature. Or also we use displays,
Right.
acrylic displays, 8.5 by 11, or you could get small one that just puts, Wi-Fi info and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Let them know where to put their garbage, all the things that they're going to ask for you. That's what you want to let them know in
Yeah,
that
for
booklet.
sure. Yeah, and you want them to know that immediately. Like you want that if you can send it out before they even go into the place, I'd recommend that.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, handwritten notes. They're
Yeah,
great
people
little
love that.
touches. They
Nice little
love
touch.
that. Here at our La Finca property, where we broadcast this show from, we have 42 mango trees on the property. And during certain times of the year, and avocado trees, those things bloom. We have beehives here on the property. Don't get scared by that, but beehives on the property, and we mine honey.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we'll offer that to our guests if it's during that time of year when they're coming, and they love those little touches.
Yeah.
If you can provide that to them, maybe a couple bottles of water just sitting there, cheap enough, but it's a nice gesture with a note. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, it's so cheap, but it's such a nice touch to do. It really does go a long way.
What
honestly.
about Kevin problem solving? Because things happen. As
Yeah.
Bubba Gump once said,
Famously said.
yes, Bubba said this, shit happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So, an air condition can go bad. A hot water heater could be on the fritz. People want hot water. They sleep, they bathe, they want hot water. So, how do you deal with that? The problem solving.
So it all comes down to how fast you can respond. Because sometimes you don't even need to solve the problem if you are at least alert and communicative
And
to
proactive.
and
Yeah.
proactive to
Yeah.
that guest, and
Yeah. That's
also
right.
being sympathetic to
Right.
that guest as
Right.
well. Because no one wants to be told, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal, right? Especially when you're on vacation. So I would say your response is also very crucial to that. You do want to be proactive and go out, and even if you can't solve it, going to that place, making an appearance also really helps. So you can, get eyes on what the issue is and see if you can even solve it yourself.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of like during the day when I say that. Now, after hours, when it's, 12 o'clock at night and there's an issue pop up, sometimes you're just asleep, man.
Yes.
And
Yeah, but you know what, Kevin? You put a message on your phone and wherever they're calling, because you're going
right,
to leave a phone number for
right.
people to call in case of emergencies. And you could leave a message that says, "I'm sorry, I'm asleep now. I'm going to attend to your request as soon as I get up, or
Yeah,
by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning." Set the expectation. It's the same thing as setting the expectation in that listing by having, as Kevin says, accurate photos. It's the same thing. Set the expectation on how you're going to resolve it. But as you say, Kevin, make sure that they know that resolving their problem is important to you,
yeah, of course.
right?
Of course, yeah. And you actually touched on a point I was going to touch on, which is on, for example, Airbnb. There's a section where it's like other details to note, which you can write in whatever you want about your property. But you can also write in your services too, as well as your availability, which is, I'm available. You want to be upfront with people. You want to, if you're a early, riser, then great. Put, 7 a.m. To whatever time for your availability. If you go to sleep early, then don't put I'm, available until 11 p.m. at night. You want to be upfront with these people, let them know this is after hours. I will tend to your issue as soon as, I'm available the next morning during those hours.
So let's recap, okay, as we're coming to a close here
Sure.
this show. Let's recap. So there's 5 areas that you really got to remember. 1, legal and licensing essentials.
Uh-huh.
Make sure that you get
Must have.
the must have. You
Yeah.
got to make sure you're doing it legally. Number 2, setting up your space. Set it up for comfort, set it up so it's aesthetically pleasing,
Yep.
and make sure that you're taking photographs that accurately portray the property that when that guest gets there. Number 3, where to market.
Yep.
We've given you ideas on websites. There's also probably businesses in your area that bring travelers in. You could connect with them directly. But know where to market. The Airbnbs, the VRBOs. If you're looking for longer term, maybe try a Furnish Finders. It is a subscription cost. It'll cost you, but it could be one booking and it could be worth it. Florida Rentals here in Florida for certain types of properties. Yeah, there's a subscription price to getting a year subscription on that site, that listing, but it could be worth it. So know where to market. The 4th thing is the guest experience and the reviews. The guest, if they have a good experience, they'll give you a good review. It's that simple. So make sure they have a good experience by making sure that the amenities are working properly, that there's maybe a little extra there when they arrive. Those sorts of things, that you're posting the Wi-Fi information clearly so they don't have to, reach out to you to get that information. That's important. And then the last thing, some of the common mistakes to avoid, and those are to do the things that we're telling you not to do, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
make sure that you make it comfortable, that you make it clean,
Yeah.
and you do that, you're going to get the rentals, and you're pricing it properly and doing all those things online, tending to your listings, as we call it, putting things like last minute discounts that Kevin mentioned. You can do
Right.
that easily on a platform like Airbnb or VRBO. Doing those sorts of things that will bring you higher in the rankings, more visibility. It comes down to, really does come down to how many eyeballs see your listing. If it's a great listing and it's comfortable and a lot of eyeballs are seeing it, then you'll get rentals. Any parting words, Kev? Here on
Um,
Bread and Bread?
uh,
Bread and Bread and Bread?
bread and bread and bread. He's just
And
thinking
more
about the
bread.
bread for
I'm
and
thinking
more
about the
bread.
bread. Yes.
I got to lay off the bread, but honestly, it's not as daunting as you think it is. It really is a easy process to set up yourself. It just requires time and it requires patience. And you want to make sure everything is accurate to what you're selling. You don't want to sell something you're not, but you also don't want to sell yourself short either. You know,
Yeah.
if you have something nice to offer, put it on there.
Highlight it.
Yeah,
Highlight
highlight
it.
it. Yeah, of course.
Yes. And with some of these suggestions, now maybe it's time for you to start your own Airbnb business. You've just listened to Airbnb 101 on Bed and Bread, and we're happy that you joined us today. Take some of these words, and if you have any questions, you can always put it in the comment section here on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this uh, uh, filming. So have a great day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Bed and Bread.